Hi Edward, hi Becky. So we are now in the store wardrobe under the stairs. Let's talk about this first of all, because there's a few little details to consider here. View, display, perspective. So 3 or 4 considerations here. It's sold, or it can be sold, with a top. This is an additional component. The Elfa version is pretty crappy. It's a chipboard core. It has no moisture resistance and is easily damaged. If I'm asked to supply any Elfa chipboard components, melamine components, I try and steer clients towards a bespoke one which I've made myself from moisture resistant white faced and edged MDF. I may have a 45 by 43 piece next to my desk over there. If not, I may be able to make one in the next few weeks from scraps from other clients' projects. I'm going to price this in, but I'm not going to sell you the Elfa one. If I can't manufacture one or don't have one in time, you're better off doing without. The Elfa one is a complete waste of money. The tower itself, this is a 7-rung unit, and these rungs are roughly 100 millimeters apart. So you've asked for 2 large baskets. These baskets are 28 centimeters deep, so that is occupying a 300 millimeter space. So there's nominally about 20 millimeters of clearance between those two. So that means you've probably got headroom between here and here of just under 400 millimeters. Between here and here you've probably got just under 300 millimeters. So having this gap at the top, I'd normally be selling customers an 8 centimeter basket that goes in there. I think having that empty space and that clearance for what you're planning to do is a good idea. So let's go for this. 2 baskets, excuse me, 2 baskets 28 centimeters deep. There's probably going to be just under 300 millimeters, 30 centimeters of clearance here. There's probably going to be just under 400 millimeters of clearance here. Casters. Now, I originally put casters on this and talked about casters because I thought it would be useful to pull this unit out. I'm now thinking, how valuable is that, and would it be better to just have this unit on fixed feet? If the floor of this cupboard is very flat and even, given that you're in a new build, it probably is, you could have very plain, simple, inexpensive feet. Or if the floor is uneven, an alternative is adjustable feet. If you really think you're going to need to be wheeling this unit in and out regularly, I would say almost, if you think that's a facility you'll use every time you use this trolley, you want to pull it out, then casters are essential. Excuse me. Oh dear. Otherwise, don't have the casters. I think they could be a nuisance, because every time you pull a drawer out, this thing might want to move, particularly if you build the weight up in here. Right, the only other consideration for these units is the baskets. I'm going to sneeze again, hang on. The only other consideration is these baskets come in 2 finishes, mesh or wire. The mesh is it's an attractive light perforated aluminium sheet. The wire is like 2 or 3 millimeter diameter mild steel. The wire is much more hard wearing, but arguably not as pretty. I think for what you're planning to use it for, i.e. loading it up with household cleaning products, I would go for the wire. Okay, so that is that dealt with. Ironing board. I couldn't find my reference pictures for the other project I was thinking of. I've asked the client to send a few over. She hasn't replied yet. There are ways of hanging an ironing board on Elfa hooks. This is something I've done before, just slinging it between two hooks like that. I've shown a broom here because this tool holder, there's a version of that that will hold the neck of a hoover. If you've got something like a Henry with a long arm that's on a hose, something like that could be useful. If you've got a big Dyson where the whole unit pushes along, that's probably not relevant. I also did think that you could have, I mean, it's going to be not the simplest thing to do to mount a board there with all of these electricals that are around it, but again, a small pegboard, and I'll send you a link to the components and stuff you can put on that. But I'm just trying to think of other areas where you could, excuse me, squeeze a bit of storage on. The other client I'm thinking of had a completely different brand of iron holder, which I put on for them, ironing board holder, and it had an integrated iron holder. I can't think what brand that was, but hopefully she'll be in touch soon. Okay, that's it for now. Speak soon.